Welcome back to the Deep Dives. All right, today we're going to jump right into something pretty fascinating happening over in South Korea. It's about their National Pension Service, or NPS, and we're specifically going to be looking at why the MZ generation, basically, folks in their 20s and 30s, why they're so concerned about their retirement outlook right now. You sent over a really interesting article about this, so let's break it down.
Definitely. This is a big conversation happening right now. And yeah, that article does a great job of unpacking what's at stake. Essentially, at the heart of it is this debate around raising how much people pay into the system, the insurance premium rate, and how much they get back later in life, the income replacement rate. So in this deep dive, what we really want to figure out is how these proposed changes could affect younger Koreans financially, like right off the bat, what this means for their budgets now, and then, down the line, how long is this NPS fund actually expected to last? And we also want to look into why more and more people are considering personal pension options, like as a must-have for retirement planning.
Okay, so let's break down these proposed changes to the NPS. Can you walk us through the key points of what's being considered?
Sure. So the reform plan that everyone's talking about, according to the article, has two main parts. The first is gradually raising what people contribute. Right now, it's 9% of their income that goes to NTS, and the plan is to bump that up to 13% over time. This wouldn't happen all at once, but the target is to hit 13% by 2033. The second part is to increase the income replacement rate. That's the percentage of someone's income that they'd get back as a pension when they retire. Currently, it's 40%, and the proposal is to raise it to 43%.
So basically, you're paying more in now for a slightly larger payout later. What does this actually look like in terms of real money for someone, let's say, in the MZ generation who's working and contributing right now? How would this premium hike impact their monthly budget?
The article lays this out pretty clearly with an example. Imagine someone making, say, 3 million Korean won per month, which is kind of an average salary. Right now, 9% of that goes to NPS, so that's 270,000 won every month. Now, if this reform goes through, and by 2033, when that contribution rate hits 13%, that same person would be paying 390,000 won every month. So that's a difference of 120,000 won less in their pocket every month.
Wow, that's a pretty significant chunk of change to be giving up each month. So would the projected increase in their pension benefits be enough to offset that? What would that look like for our example of the person making 3 million won a month?
Yeah, so using that same example, someone making 3 million won a month would be getting a pension of about 1.2 million won per month under the current 40% income replacement rate. Now, if that rate goes up to 43%, their monthly pension would increase to 1.29 million won. So what it boils down to is they'd be paying an extra 120,000 won every month to essentially get an extra 90,000 won each month during retirement.
So they are putting in a lot more now, but they're not really getting that much more back later on, at least when you look at the raw numbers. No wonder the MZ generation is a bit hesitant about this. So what's the main reason behind this reform push? What's the driving force behind these proposed changes?
The article makes it pretty clear the goal is to try and delay when the NPS fund runs out of money, or as they put it, turns negative. Projections show that with the current setup, the money would be gone sometime in the 2050s.
And how much of a difference would this reform actually make? How much longer would the fund last if these changes are implemented?
Based on the current projections, this reform would push back the depletion date from 2055 to 2064. So it basically buys them about 9 more years. But the article also brings up a big point of criticism, which is that many people are saying, look, this 9-year extension is not a real fix. They're saying it's more like a Band-Aid, and what they really need is to completely overhaul the system.
Yet a 9-year delay doesn't feel like a long-term solution when you're dealing with something as big as a national pension fund. So what is the bigger problem here? What's causing this underlying instability in the NPS?
The real issue, and the article highlights this, is a pretty major shift in demographics happening in South Korea. It's not just about tweaking the numbers, it's about the fact that fewer and fewer people are paying into the system while more and more people are retiring and taking money out. This is because of things like low birth rates and people living longer, things that are pretty well documented. The article even points out that these demographic trends are so strong that just making little policy changes might not be enough to fix the system in the long run.
It's a tough situation, fewer people working to support a growing retired population.
So with all this uncertainty around the NPS and these proposed reforms that don't seem to offer a real solution, the article talks about personal pensions becoming really popular, especially among the MZ generation. Why are they looking beyond the national system? Well, think about it. For a lot of the MZ generation, retirement is still like 20 or 30 years away. And with all this uncertainty around the NPS and the fact that the proposed reforms might not actually benefit them that much financially, they're starting to realize that they can't just rely on the government to take care of them in retirement. So they're getting proactive and looking at other ways to save for retirement, and that's where personal pensions come in.
So what are some of the specific types of personal pensions that the article talks about? What options are younger people looking at?
There are a few key things that the article mentions. First, there are pension savings and individual retirement accounts, which are often called IRPs. These are basically investment accounts where people can put their money into different things like mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, ETFs, and even real estate investment trusts, which are known as REITs. One of the big advantages of these accounts is that they often come with tax benefits. So, for example, your contributions might be tax deductible, and the money you make from your investments grows tax-free until you retire, which can really add up over time.
We've talked about ETFs before on the show. Why are those becoming such a popular option, especially with younger people who are planning for retirement?
ETFs are great because they're really easy to get into, and they let you invest in a whole bunch of different companies at once, which is called diversification. The article specifically mentions that younger people are really interested in ETFs that track major U.S. stock market indices, like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ 100. Those are seen as having a lot of potential for growth over the long term, and with ETFs, you can basically buy a little piece of all those companies with a single investment. Plus, the fees for ETFs are usually pretty low, and as the article mentions, you can hold these ETFs within those retirement accounts like IRPs, so you get the tax benefits and the potential for higher returns.
Yeah. Okay, and what about target date funds? The article mentions those as another option. Can you tell us a bit more about those?
Yeah, target date funds, or TDFs, are getting more and more popular. Basically, they're designed to automatically adjust your investments as you get closer to retirement. So when you're younger and retirement is further away, the fund will invest more of your money in stocks, which have the potential for bigger gains. But as you get closer to retirement, the fund will automatically start moving your money into more conservative investments like bonds, which are less risky. The idea is that this way your money is growing faster when you're younger, but it's also protected as you get closer to retirement. And the article points out that this hands-off approach can be a really effective way to grow your money over time without having to constantly monitor your investments.
So for the MZ generation, what are the main advantages of using these personal pension options compared to just relying on the national system? What does the article say about that?
The article lists a few key advantages from the perspective of younger Koreans. First, it's about empowerment. By choosing a personal pension, you're taking control of your own retirement savings and making your own investment decisions. Second, it's about maximizing your returns. With the right investments, you have the potential to earn a lot more money over time than you would with just the basic national pension. Third, it's about independence. By saving for your own retirement, you're not relying on the government to take care of you. And finally, it's about taking advantage of tax breaks. A lot of these personal pension plans come with tax advantages that can help you save even more money.
It sounds like there's a real shift happening towards people taking charge of their own retirement planning. But the article also talks about the role of the government in all of this. What does it say about that?
Yeah, it acknowledges that the government still has a big responsibility to try and fix the NPS and make sure it's financially stable for everyone. But it also really emphasizes the importance of young people taking matters into their own hands and not just waiting for the government to solve the problem. It kind of puts it like this: if the government can't guarantee your retirement, you need to be prepared to take care of yourself. And it even goes on to say that individual financial stability is important for the whole economy, so it's in everyone's best interest for people to be financially secure.
So let's wrap this up. What are the main takeaways from our deep dive into this article about the NPS reform and how the MZ generation is responding?
I think the big takeaway is that these proposed changes to the NPS will probably mean that the MZ generation will have to pay more into the system now, but they won't necessarily see a huge increase in their pension benefits later. And on top of that, there's still a lot of concern about whether the NPS will even be around by the time they retire. So that's why more and more young people in Korea are looking at personal pension options as a way to supplement their retirement savings and make sure they're taken care of.
That's a really clear picture of what's going on. It sounds like this generation is facing a lot of uncertainty, but they're not just sitting back and waiting. They're taking action to secure their future. So here's a final thought for everyone listening. Given all the complexities around national pension systems and the fact that retirement planning is a long game, how much responsibility should individuals take in planning for their own retirement? And what are the best ways to do that, regardless of what the government does? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.